this. I was like, oh my goodness, it's like.
Right, but the item that was withdrawn is still in the packet. That's why. 48 to, oh no.
Ready? No,
Only 3 people I say that to, and it's true. What?
go check on them.
No, I'll go.
We could have done
We'll
a
make a field
satellite
trip.
meeting if
I'll
you
be
just
back.
told us. We could have-
It'd be a field trip. Okay.
Go
well,
remote into the Virgin Islands.
We could try that.
That'd be kind of fun.
Every meeting? Is that what you said?
Well, it's up to you.
Not in December.
Okay, let me put this little
We'll go to like Maine and.
tool to use.
Ah,
And
gavelled in.
we'll call this meeting to order, the Syracuse Planning Commission. Recording is on, yes, okay, thank you. And we will begin the public hearings in just a moment. First, though, we have action to take on the minutes of our last meeting, which was October the 30th. Minutes have been distributed to the commission members. Are there comments, questions, revisions, suggestions on our minutes of the last meeting?
Yes, I'd like to move a suggestion for clarification on item 4 regarding R2331M1, the re-subdivision of Brighton Mews. In the paragraph that refers to Mr. Michael Serafin, who objected to the re-subdivision until the property line dispute was resolved. The last sentence there says, Mr. Serafin requested that action be held until the two parties are able to resolve the dispute. At that point, I asked Mr. Serafin and Mr. Hucko if they thought they could resolve the dispute before the next meeting. They both indicated they thought that was possible. So we proceeded on that basis. At the end of that section, it says at the end that there will be no declared action taken until the next meeting. I would suggest that that sentence should just say at a future meeting rather than at the next meeting. And I guess I would like a sentence added to the paragraph that describes the dispute to indicate that both indicated it was a minor dispute that they thought could be resolved before the next meeting.
Answer your question.
Right,
you
in
had
response to
raised.
my
Yeah.
question. Because I think we sort of voted on the assumption or the understanding that this was easily resolved and able to resolve it for the next meeting. Otherwise, it should refer to a future meeting rather than the next meeting. Because obviously, it hasn't been resolved since it's not on the
Seems like an
agenda for
appropriate
tonight.
revision to the minutes. Any other comments on that or other adjustments for the minutes? No, not yet. We're just asking
We didn't
for any comments, corrections, and so forth for the minutes. So we have that. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes with the notation by Commissioner Barry Lentz?
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. And the abstentions? Minutes from the October 30th meeting as amended are approved. And we can now move into the public hearing portion of our meeting. And as a guide to those who are not familiar with our process, as each application is announced, we would ask the applicant or the representative come to the podium in the center of the room, provide their name and address for the record, and a summary of the proposal involved. Following questions by the commission members, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so. And then we will provide an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Where comments are made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to address the comments made in opposition. So with that, I think we are ready for our first public hearing, please.
The first listed item on the agenda was an application that was withdrawn for re-subdivision. So the first new business item this evening, there's going to be 3 of them. They're all major site plan review applications for the same project known as La Liga. First one is major site plan review MASPR-23-03 for 112-28 Delaware Street.
Good evening. My name is Mike Malda from Holmes King Colquist and Associates, 575 North Salinas Street. To give you some background on the project, intro is going to include all 5 of the project sites. La Liga is a scattered new construction project with mixed-use, affordable housing that has integrated permanent supportive and affordable housing located on the west side of Syracuse. The project complements the ongoing efforts the city has been making to reduce urban blight and to improve the neighborhood as a whole. And our project is sort of a extension of that effort. We will be taking over 6 sites. All of the parcels are currently owned by the land bank, and there is a purchase agreement with the developer to purchase these sites upon funding approval from several New York State offices. We also have representatives of the developer, Caitlin from the land bank, and the local representative, La Liga, who is sponsoring the project. Housing Visions is going to be engaged by the owner as the maintenance, for maintenance and operations to include property management, marketing, rentals, and tenant selection. We have just completed the last funding application. There were 4 of them, and we expect the award announcements to happen in spring of 2024. We hope to have financing loans closed by November and begin construction in November of 2024. The project will take approximately 24 months, and we expect we will be, at this time in 2026, wrapping up construction. As a general description, the project involves 6 sites, 5 of which will have buildings on them, and 3 that we'll be introducing to you tonight. They will provide 68 affordable housing apartments. It's a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms with a total gross square footage project-wide of just under 94,000 square feet. The project will include 4 units that are fully accessible and 2 units that are hearing vision adapted. That breaks down to 5% and 2% respectively of the entire project. And the project will also include 29 units of housing specifically set for survivors of domestic abuse. This will include their families, and it's all located within one building, the 304 project that I'll be presenting later. And finally, the project also includes 2,400 square feet of tenant commercial space, which currently is expected to be used by La Liga for their new offices. I'm going to turn the mic over to Christian, who will go through the site planning, and then I'll come back to discuss the buildings and their aesthetics.
Hi, Christian Freeman from Keplinger Freeman Associates. Thanks for having us before you tonight. I've been in contact with Christian and the zoning department as we've moved forward here through approvals. And what we've encountered initially was that we're going to start by establishing the CPC as the lead so that we can do a coordinated review. But as we move forward in the project, I'd like to just touch on kind of the overall nature of those 6 sites. So as Mike mentioned, 6 of the sites are combined subdivisions which have been filed. At this time, the 911 addresses have not been assigned yet, but the subdivisions are filed. As we go through them, 601 is the mixed-use building. It has 18 units. In terms of parking, we had a meeting with the city on 9/18/23, determining that our 4 provided spaces would be adequate. Moving through the Dudley project, which is the address of 401 to 5, 411 Delaware, and 102 Dudley. That's the community garden parcel. And then moving to 304, that's a 29-unit building. We're providing 15 spaces, which is per code in the rezone. And then for the 112, 128 parcel, we have 8 units and we're providing 5 parking spaces. In terms of layout of the site, each of the sites will have, each of the buildings will have associated with them a dumpster, and that trash collection bin will be screened adequately as per standards. Parking, while not necessarily in character with the area, has been worked through with the city and reduced, and we understand it needs to be screened, so it will be screened adequately. Neighboring parcels, because the use of our proposed development is a different use than single family, we understand that also requires a buffer, which we will have on our plans. And then, let's see, we also have new sidewalks that the city put in. Thank you to the city for putting those in. We'll be utilizing those where we can. There's brand new sidewalks that are right in front of the proposed buildings on some of the sites, which is great. So that parking meeting was 9/18/23. And then finally, we determined setbacks, sort of going back and forth with the city. And our final meeting was 10/19/23, which we think established all the setbacks, which we adhere to. We have a BZA meeting to get into, but that's an architectural thing. So at this point, I will turn it back to Mike.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so the first project or building is 112, 128 Delaware. This building has 8 apartments, 2 first floor, 2-bedroom flats, 4 one-bedroom units, and finally 2 3-bedroom townhouses. All of the parking is located at the back of the site, and as Christian noted, it will be screened from its neighbors, and all the required parking is on site, so we will not require any street parking. We have developed the project to take into account the existing fabric of the neighborhood. A majority of the buildings within this neighborhood were once very large single-family dwellings. And the intent with our design was to incorporate the elements within those buildings, dormers, shutters, multiple window types, the oval windows that almost every old house seems to have, generous front porches that can actually be used as porches with furniture. Each apartment will have its own entry, and we've worked to combine the building into segments, sort of symmetrical, to give it some life, some interest from the street. Now of all times. Technically, the building is 3 stories, but the 3rd story is largely kept underneath the roof eaves so that we can reduce it and help it look much more like its neighbors. If you'd like me to continue, I can hit the next 2 buildings in succession rather than each individually.
Good catch.
The reflexes, Jacob.
Once again, Christian is helping us along. 601 Geddes is going to be a 4-story building with 18 apartments total. 9 of the apartments are 2-bedroom units, and 9 of the apartments are 1-bedroom units. These will all be on floors 2, 3, and 4. The first floor is going to contain a community room building, and that community room build is for the entire project. All the tenants within the housing within this project will be invited there for gatherings, etc. The building also includes a bike room storage area, computer labs so that if we ever have another pandemic and shut things down, children still have the opportunity to learn if they're so driven. The project will also have all the parking in the rear hidden as much as we can. This building in particular is very interesting because it's sort of the hinge between the commercial aspects of South Geddes Street and then the residential aesthetics of Seymour Street. It's a tricky little knuckle to traverse, but we believe the front elevation where we've provided storefront windows on the first floor for the community room and the retail space helps delineate that first floor commercial area. The upper floor is the bay system. The introduction of brick and the fiber cement panels are partially based on the bay systems within some of the existing brick buildings along Geddes Street. The fiber cement materials, we're keeping those in the same family as the other houses in the project so that there'll be a clear distinction between this project and all the parts that relate and still have a nod towards the neighborhood as a whole, which is a mix of commercial spaces, abandoned buildings, which we hope we will get rid of more of them in the future, and some new, brighter, and more in tune with the contemporary design that's facing Syracuse today. And then the final building is 304 Delaware Street. This is 304 Delaware Street on the, yes, there we go. So some of my colleagues laugh at me because I still rely on boards, but you can never fully trust technology.
Agreed.
So to introduce you to this building, this is actually 29 units. I believe on the drawings it was listed as 28, but we were able to squeeze in one more one-bedroom unit because every square footage counts. And this is the building that will be dedicated to the 29 Eshai building, or 29 Eshai apartments, which will be designated for survivors of domestic abuse. The only tenants that will be in this building are those survivors. With that, we've provided a playground which will be fenced off and accessed only by the tenants. The security cameras will be focused on the parking lot and the main doors. We have on the first floor several offices for supportive services, helping the tenants find jobs, learn how to do resumes, coordinate housing and legal representation. And it will also have its own community room and fitness center. And for those people that aren't comfortably being outside, this building also has a rooftop patio so that the tenants can still be secure, but outside and not be able to be reached easily. The front doors are going to be manned by a reception desk, and access will be only allowed by key fobs to make this sort of its own private little world once you walk through the front door. In addition to the community room and fitness room, we also have the bike storage room, computer labs, a dog washing room because a majority of the people, when they leave, they don't want to leave their pets behind. They're just like family. And some of them are being used as support animals. So we're trying to provide all the services a family might need when they have to grab what they can and exit their current home. The building is 3 floors, and while it's overly long compared to the other buildings in the neighborhood, I did a study with 4 floors, and it just sort of overwhelms everything in the area, including the Archimedes Russell Church, the Delaware First Baptist Church directly across the street from this building. So we felt that 3 floors but longer was a much better option than 4 floors and shorter. We also used the church as sort of the basis for some of the design on the elevations. We'll have a series of projecting bays to give added interest, and we're using brick with a water table, cornice lines, and other brick details that are pulled off the Archimedes example across the street. The bay systems that you see within the brick, which on that elevation are the sort of light gray areas, are also based on the bay system found within the church sanctuary windows and some of the later additions that were added to the church for the school area. The portion on the far left, the 2-story section, the first floor is where you'll see the community room, and then the second floor is the fitness room, and then directly above that is where the rooftop patio will be located. We wanted to energize that corner so that that would be lit most times of the day, sort of a little beacon for the neighborhood, for the tenants within all the buildings, that's sort of a home base, and sort of energize that corner, which we've learned from multiple community meetings. That church has a place of pride with a lot of the families. Their parents were married there, they were baptized there. So we're trying to be respectful of that church, which hopefully may become part of a future project, God willing, quite literally. Again, we've tried to work with breaking the building down along with the bays. We have a difference in materials. We've provided a base, a body, and then a cornice line, trying to keep this building as pedestrian friendly as possible. We understand that it's potentially an overwhelming mass, but we believe we've broken it down enough that the neighborhood can accept it, that it works well with the church across the street, and hopefully will become a bigger part of a larger project in the future. Do you have any questions? And if you don't, I'll be very surprised. Our presentation is good, but not perfect.
And we thank you.
This has 11 one-bedroom units, 9 three-bedroom units, and 9 two-bedroom units. And all of the apartments are adaptable. There is one fully accessible unit, and all of them can also be fitted for hearing and vision impairments. And every unit will be visitable. Not only will it have a bathroom that's sized for someone in a wheelchair, but they can also become adapted in the future if necessary.
Yeah, I'm looking at the, first of all, let me just say it's very exciting to see the La Liga.
And you're only
project
seeing
coming
3 of the
forward.
buildings.
I understand, but these 3, it's exciting to see this come forward. I've been looking at the transit situation in the La Liga neighborhood area, and there are multiple bus lines in the area, and of course, the part of the area is very close to South Ave, which is projected as a BRT route. But I'm just wondering, in general, if you've looked at the transit situation with the La Liga neighborhood area, how does that shape up? Have you had any conversations with Centro about bus service and some of the lines that are less frequent service than other lines, and a possibility of getting a VO dock up in the area and other transit? Because I am anticipating that a fair number of people that are going to live in these units are people that either are not card or are going to use mass transit as much as they can. So I'm just curious if you could talk a bit about that.
So the 601, 621 Geddes, that is near, and by near I mean within a block 5 bus lines.
Right.
That's just 601. 304 is proximal, and again, within 2 blocks, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. Also, if you go, or 7 bus stops. If you go another, if you go to the corner of Kellogg and Delaware versus Grace and Delaware, you have 1, 2, 3, 6 stops there, and then for 112, 128. Our initial look at it, and that's, I don't know how legally, how far you have to consider for a bus stop, but these would definitely count. We're being
Yeah, they're all within a
Yes.
reasonable
There could
walking
be more.
distance of all the apartments.
There been discussions with VO about the possibility of getting a dock up there? Because again, that could be a high-use area with this project.
We haven't, but we can take that under consideration. It's certainly going to be a more populated area in the future. The larger buildings, 601 and 304, have internal bike storage rooms, and then all the others will have the bike racks, as well as internal storage rooms for the apartment where they can also store bikes as well.
We go back to the Geddes Street site again, and I wonder if you could just maybe review a little bit what's happening on the Geddes Street side in terms of the apartment access, or is the apartment access from the backside where the parking is going to be for the spots that are allocated for that building? If that doesn't work, you could use your board there. We have a race with technology. All the parking is going to be behind the building, right?
Parking will be behind the building. Oh, the laser disappears on that whole screen. Okay, so parking is located behind the building. There will be 2 entry areas for tenants. One entry area for the tenant commercial space, and then a separate entry at the lower bottom portion of the screen for just the tenants. On the front of the building, on Geddes, you can see 2 sidewalks as well. The sidewalk coming off of the corner is directly into the commercial tenant space, and then all the residents will have their own separate space from that to enter the building.
All the entrances will be ADA accessible, and that's
Another reason was so that anyone who was attempting to cross the corner with plantings, it'll be more of an impediment and easier.
Yeah.
Also set the building further back from the street than necessary, just more of a residential feel. There's something of a lawn and something of a buffer for people who might be in the community room who want to see the street but don't necessarily want to be on the street.
Just orient me, if you would, to across the street. Where is the field for Fowler? Is it directly across or a
Upper
little north?
left-hand corner,
Okay, okay.
kitty corner.
So if you have rooftop there, they can watch the football games.
Fortunately, we had to take the rooftop half off. Otherwise, yeah, I would be there in a second. Yeah, and I'm sure several units on the 3rd and 4th floors will be able to have a direct view, so maybe they can rent out the living room
For
for
game days, right?
Questions?
I have a couple.
Please.
Housing Visions is going to manage the tenancy population of all the buildings.
All 5 buildings, yes. That way it's consistent and
They'll manage
clients.
on the income levels, which is, if I have it right, is 50%, average 50% AMI. Okay.
50 to 60 AMI.
Units?
Shy units, I can't tell you.
Okay.
I would expect they're within that same
Yep.
range.
Okay. And the first building on Delaware, we're going to do a setback of 18 versus 20. Right in the back? Okay. The team.
Yes.
They determined that.
Yep. Okay.
Talk about 112, 118 for that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, obviously, I think I read all of the parking will be screened and all of the dumpster areas will be screened. And I know that there are comments, city comments on all of that as well.
Dumpsters are going to have fences with gates and then
Okay. Okay. I saw that. Yep, yep. In particular, I think the focus is on the ROW, the right-of-way plantings, and making sure you stay in the compliance of what our neighborhood would typically.
arborist has let us know there's 3 trees in the ROW that we're going to protect.
Okay, great. And the community garden is for all of the units? And it will be managed by Housing Visions as well, or La Liga? Or initial?
Relate to the building,
Okay.
initial control.
Okay,
It'll be open to the tenants. It will be fenced off so that people can't come off the street. And we'll also include a small storage shed for gardening supplies.
okay,
There will be no power. Water, we're expecting to use and rain storage, rain barrels for water supply.
just put new sidewalks out in front there, didn't we? The 5 feet ones.
There were some comments in there from DPW about that too. I don't know if you want to address the plan with that?
We will incorporate the sidewalks.
Okay, and
And if there's any
wide? Aren't we?
Yeah, sometimes even wider
Wider,
in
right.
commercial districts, so.
So I'm assuming, and I couldn't see it because I didn't have my glasses on, I apologize. The walkways are going to comply with the width of the sidewalk, so you'll stay in the 5. Okay, and I think that does it for me for the moment. Thank you very much. I have one more question. La Liga is the commercial tenant in the 2450. Okay. Will they take the whole space, or is there additional? Yes. Okay, so, but that would be good. So, but the plan is that you'll commit to the 2450, the 2,400 square feet, and you'll break it out inside that to what you just described. Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. Easily convert it. Yeah. Great. Thank you. We just went through all 3. We did it.
Which was a sensible
In
thing to
remarkable
do.
time, I will say.
Which was a sensible thing to do, given the nature of the project and the folks involved. So I guess we will now close all three hearings.
We could see if somebody wants to object.
Oh, indeed, indeed. We're getting a little pushy here. But I'll ask anyways. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of either of these three related projects? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to any of the three applications we just heard? Please come forward, provide your name and address for the record, and a summary of your comments. Hiding behind that board. So we will close the three public hearings and we'll proceed to action one at a time. And we can start with,
No action tonight because you still are within your 30-day period for the and to be the
okay,
lead
thank
agency.
you.
So tonight, you're just doing the public hearing, and then after the 30 days has elapsed, you can deliberate and do your.
Thank you for that
On that
important
note,
reminder.
the Onondaga County Department of Planning, the planning board, they notified us that they are not interested in being lead agency, and the New York State Homes and Community Renewal have also sent us a letter consenting to the City of Syracuse Planning Commission assuming lead agency.
So you're partway through. The 30-day period started on November 9th. So by the next meeting, I think they'll be good to go. So we'll have this back on the agenda for the next meeting, at which time you can commence with your deliberate.
Like a good. That's right, that's right.
So
Okay,
does that mean we cannot vote on the applications until we do the seeker?
Right, seeker has to come first.
I guess I have one remaining question then. For the third property, the property that,
Delaware?
yeah,
the large
yeah,
one
the
in
large,
Delaware.
right, the yard unit, right, 304, correct. That is consistent with zoning, but inconsistent with the majority of the houses in the area that are single unit. I understand how that happens, and obviously you're consistent with zoning. So I'm just wondering about the conversations, and nobody came here to protest, so I assume there's not a lot of feeling in the area that this could be a problem in terms of the aesthetics, et cetera. Have you had conversations in your group meetings, et cetera?
We
What's the
have
state of
had,
that?
how many community meetings? 4. We've had 4 community meetings, all within the neighborhood, and they have never mentioned anything about the size of the building or its aesthetics being an issue for them. They're more interested in the amenities and how many people can fit, what a difference it would be from the rest of the neighborhood. So we know we're treading a fine line between the original buildings and what we're proposing.
The BZA one? For architecture? Yes.
Just to clarify my point, you can deliberate tonight, you just can't take
Right.
action. Of course, if you
Understood.
deliberate tonight, in 3 weeks, you may not remember what you said.
Right, right,
You're free to do that.
right. Well, I just wasn't sure how we were going since we lumped all 3 together.
Keep you on your toes. Yes, we'll remind you if you want to keep talking.
Or issues that we might ask the applicant team to focus on this evening? Not tonight. We can always incorporate it as part of our deliberation at the December meeting. So we'll now close the 3 public hearings, 112, 28 Delaware Street, 601 South Geddes, and 304 to 26 Delaware Street. So those hearings are now closed, and we will return next month to deliberate on each of those three. Okay, thank you all. We have no old business this evening, but we do have other business this evening.
Update on that, the last item on the agenda this evening was also another item that was withdrawn for the time being. We'll work with the applicant to get this back on a future agenda.
And assuming there's no additional business, is there anything else that's not part of the printed agenda we need to deal with this evening? Nope.
Nope.
In that case, as if there's a motion to adjourn, that would be in order.
Second.
Discussion. Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. And abstentions, we are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thanksgiving.